Maria Hauser, and I am the council member for District 22. We have some other council members here. We have Sharon Hurst, who's at large. We have Dave Rosenberg, who's 35. Courtney Johnson, who's I don't remember. We have Tom Druffel, who is District 23. I think Berkeley Allen, and also see Solfac.
Larry Hagar.
Where's Larry? Where did you go? There you are. And Larry. So we have several council people that are here because when we talk about a homeless situation, that is not a particular district situation. It's not even a Davidson County or a Tennessee or a United States. This is something the entire world is battling on what to do. Today, we are not going to solve the problem. I wish I could tell you that, hey, in the next 2 hours, we're going to get the thing done and we're on our way. But that's not going to be. What I hope to do today is to shine a light, to open the door, shine a light on the situation, hear what the situation is, what are some of the things that are being done, what do we plan on doing, what can't we do and what can we do, and how we all can be involved. So hopefully, when you leave today, you will feel better than you did coming in the door because you will know that your voices have been heard and that we are not just giving lip service, but we are actually giving action. So that is my goal today. We have a pretty tight agenda. We have to be out of this room at 7:15. Boom. So I'm going to be keeping people on track. So if I cut you off, it's not that I'm trying to be rude. I just want to make sure that this is a really productive meeting and that we hear from all the presenters and we give you time to voice your concerns and get your answers, because we do have people here from the various parks departments that are being metro departments that are involved, as well as a multitude of nonprofits that are here. But those that are here representing specific nonprofits, raise your hand. Okay. So there are several of those folks, and they will be your source of how to contribute if you wish to be part of a solution. And Judith Tackett has just walked in the door. She is our director of the Homeless Impact Division and working very hard every day. I know many of you may feel that nothing is being done because it hasn't been explained to you. One of the problems that we have as human beings is if we don't know what's going on, we assume the worst. It's just the way it is. And it may or may not be the correct situation. So I am hoping that today, when you leave, you at least have some information. You know who to contact if you have a problem. You know who to contact if you want to help. And so, Judith, I'm going to turn it over to you. Again, we are not going to have audience participation until the end, but we want to make sure we hear from all the presenters. So thank you very much.
Evening. Well, thank you so much for coming out. I feel like I'm giving a speech and I'm not really prepared to do that. So I'm here to kick us off, to talk about what is going on, set the stage, and then talk specifically about Brooke, Meade and what Metro is doing there, and how we're moving forward together with all of you and all of us together in this. So one of the things that happened, and I have addressed it before in meetings, and I hope you have been able to attend as well. COVID pandemic is really devastating for the most vulnerable population. So what we're okay. Sorry, I thought that was a mic. It's like so do that when you have yeah, just tell me when I have to speak up again. Is this better now? Okay. So the situation is that through COVID, we all know that the outdoor population, Davidson County wide, has increased. We all know that. We see it. You see it. One of the things that also happened during COVID, communities like Nashville have received increased funding for housing. You're going to hear from a bunch of community providers that actually serve at the Brooke Meade Encampment right now and are collaborating with us on that. and they're also serving with us citywide. We have set a goal together as a community with the providers to house 400 people by the end of this year with these additional dollars. In July, we hit that mark and we keep going. We're at 100, close to 440 right now, and we keep going. And that is a Davidson County-wide approach. We are looking at moving away from first come, first serve. We're looking at prioritizing housing for people. And that's the whole concept. And what we are, now I want to go and really go wider here. It's the Brooke meeting encampment and what we're doing there. So the situation last summer, last fall, was there were about 45 to 50 people in that encampment. We did the housing approach. We really got quite a group of people out of there. We were down to 30, 35. It always fluctuated at the beginning of this year. And then all of a sudden, as you know, we're right now at 75 to 80. So this is not where we want to head. This is not sustainable. This is not healthy for people there. This is not healthy for anybody. So what we have done is come together and really have now weekly meetings with community providers who are focused on who is there, who's working with whom, and we coordinate that every person has services that work towards housing. Because that's the other thing. We really need to keep that goal in mind if that's the housing goal. What we have done as Metro is we really also have come together. What do we need to do within Metro to work with the community and work with the providers to really look how can we actually speed up the housing process and address the public health, public safety, and the housing concern for everybody. We have a phase one approach that we're in right now. One is weekly community meetings with the providers to coordinate and plan and know people by name and have these relationships. And then we are also, Metro Council has been so generous, Mayor's office has been generous to actually get me in my office, some outreach workers. I'm in the hiring process. 2 of them will be assigned exactly, specifically to Brooke Meade to support the providers out there with that housing navigation focus. The other thing that just happened, thanks to the mayor's office, thanks to council members, we just received funding to implement what we call a mobile housing navigation center that will help us to drive the numbers down very quickly. What that is utilizing spaces at a church to get a group of people that work on housing out of the encampment immediately. We're looking at about 20 people at a time. That would decrease the encampment by 25% very, very quickly. While we still continue all the other efforts on housing, while we're looking at family reunification, there are programs called diversion that really look at where the strengths of the person, what do we need to focus on, what are their resources in their environment that we can utilize and look at. We have a Metro task force across several departments that is having now also moving forward with the calls checking who's doing what. And I thank you so much for being here, Commander. If you will speak a little bit more about that on the immediate needs and the immediate issues that will be approached there. And then one of the big things I really would like to, what we did is, there are some brochures at the back. I see you're organized. So let's organize around landlord searches. We need landlords that accept Section 8 vouchers so that the housing can be successful. The vouchers are there right now that we can actually, through the American Rescue Plan, we received in Nashville additional housing vouchers. We need landlords to work with us. Mayor Cooper has launched a public-private partnership for a landlord mitigation fund to create incentives for landlords to work with us and house people. Our providers are here to help with the ongoing support services. We're investing in more ongoing support services, but what we need is landlords to work with us. So it's about housing people, it's about permanent solutions. In addition, as the Metro Group, we are also working with the providers and starting to develop. So once we actually get numbers down, once we have the mobile housing navigation centers up and running, how do we actually help that people don't move back in, so that we really drive the numbers down. And with that, I actually, Commander, if you want to say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. David Foreman, the West Precinct Commander. I just want to say a few things based on some meetings that we've had and trying to come up with a solution. This is a public safety and housing approach, and what we want to do is work closely with the Parks Department. Our approach needs to be humane so we can have a sustainable solution. Oftentimes people are asking why we're not arresting those that are staying in a park after hours or camping out illegally. Sure, it's a violation of ordinance. However, if we don't have a solution, we're arresting people basically because they're homeless and they have no place to stay. So without an approved plan, a plan that's going to give us some sort of sustainable resolution that's approved by Metro Legal and the DA's office agrees to it, we can't just go out and arrest folks that are homeless staying in a park, because it really is, it's criminalizing homelessness. We don't want to do that. It's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that our department's taking a new direction, and what we like to do is do things that we call precision policing. Some of those things that we do is have to give proper notice. This is what we would like to see happen. This is what's going to happen if you're not following compliance. One thing that we realize we need to do at the park is we got to have proper signage. Proper signage, what's against the law? Park hours, no parking in the parking lot for the trailhead after hours. You can't camp there. You can't do illegal things there. So in doing so, that's what we're going to start working on. And then the other thing we need to do is we realize that there is a drug narcotic element over there, right? So, but it's very hard. We're all in a uniform. We're all wearing this uniform and we're in marked cars. So it's kind of hard to catch those that are either selling or delivering the narcotics. So one thing we're trying to do is get our Sky Cops out there. Sky Cops is a trailer that can be towed, anchored down, runs on a generator, goes for 2 or 3 days without refueling, and it constantly records. I think there's 7 cameras to include a camper-free camera. We're going to put that inside the parking lot to see who's coming and going, particularly those that are criminals. We want to precisely remove the people that are causing the problems. There are some people down there that are violent criminals that are staying in the homeless camp. And what we want to do is identify those. I have 2 officers now, not just 1, but 2 officers that are part of the community engagement team that are doing quality of life aspects. Officer Cantrell is down in Brooke Meade Park almost all day, every day he works. He knows everybody that lives there. He knows who the problem people are. If they have warrants for either stealing, burglarizing, drugs, violence against persons, domestic violence, we're going to go find those individuals and bring them to jail to be addressed in court. Okay. What we don't want to do is go down there with 5, 6 officers and make it look like we're just there to arrest those that are homeless. We don't want to do that. The other thing we have is a new office called the Alternative Strategies to Arrest, headed up by Inspector Emhoff. And those are different solutions to arresting folks. We know that we have a large portion of individuals that are experiencing homelessness, mental health crises, as well as addiction crises. So simply taking them to jail for something that they're not going to get any solution or any resolution for, it's not going to work. Other than the partners that Judy has mentioned here today, we're going to work with our other Metro departments, such as the Parks Department and their Police Department, Social Services, the Health Department, Codes, and also the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Hall has started something new called the Behavioral Care Center. So what we want to do is maximize our ability to find those that are needy. Instead of making an arrest, maybe redirect that from the criminal justice system to some sort of service that they could benefit from. We hear you. it's obvious that there's a lot of concern. And I will tell you, I was there yesterday. And we walked down through there yesterday. It didn't just take but 100 feet. We had to make an arrest with somebody who was using drugs. So, but basically, that's really not going to solve that young man's problem. We have to get into some sort of alternative strategies to resolve the issue at hand. So it's going to take us some time. I know Judy's got a timeline, but again, you know, we can't, like Lori said, we're not going to solve this problem in 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. Please be patient with us. We still want to hear from you. If most people know, Community Coordinator Sergeant John Bork, West Precinct. If you see something, say something, send him an email, call him, whatever you need to do. And we'll work our very best to resolve the problem for a sustainable resolution.
Thank you so much. The things that was important, I think it's really important that we actually hear from not just me talking about collaboration, but that we show what the collaboration looks like. So I'm going to ask a call on a few partners to just say 2 minutes. What do you do? What do you work there? And so Colby's Army is first, taken first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Wysocki. I am the Executive Director at Colby's Army, and we have been providing street outreach services to the Brooke Meade encampment since 2010. And as Judy said, we have watched this encampment grow just recently since COVID to unhealthy numbers. And I want to build on what Judy and what the commander said just recently, is that we have to have a plan. And there is sort of a plan in place. And what we do is we are the first boots on the ground that a homeless person might see. And we are the people who gain trust. We talk with people. We're out there canvassing every week. We deliver food, we deliver clothing, supplies. We keep people safe and healthy and provide referrals to all of these other organizations and then some. We work pretty much every day with Mental Health Co-op, the West Precinct, Shower the People, Park Center. We work with just about everybody, Open Table Nashville, and refer our homeless to physical and mental health services, to social services, and also to people who can help provide housing. There are organizations right here in this room that provide housing navigation, and it is a process. So people have to have their IDs, they have to have their documents before they can even apply for housing. A lot of times when you're homeless, you don't have that. The Social Security office has been backed up, way backed up due to COVID. And sometimes it's been taking close to 6-8 months for somebody to get even a Social Security card. So it is a process, and I think we all have to trust the process. Now, we need help. We're a volunteer-driven organization. And one way that you all can help the problem is to help us keep these people safe and healthy. We have volunteers in this area who are picking up food and clothing and supplies every single day. We bring them to our distribution center and sort, and we're out there every single Tuesday, all along with just about every other partner that's here providing services. When we've got 85 people out there, I can tell you we go through a lot of underwear and a lot of shorts and a lot of socks and a lot of clothes. And I think everybody here has something in their attic or their closet that they don't need. We've got a table over here with some information about how you can get a hold of us. You know, on the humanitarian aspect, these are people who are out there, and they are your sons and daughters and sisters and brothers who have had some mental illness. They've fallen through the cracks. The family has lost the support. They don't have anybody to turn to. And we've talked about the drug problem. People don't necessarily start with drugs. They start with homelessness, and then the drugs come. So we really need to keep these people safe. We need to keep them healthy so that when they do get in housing, that they are going to be a success. So come see us later. We'll be at the green table. Yes, I would like to introduce one of our friends. This is Liz Mallard. Liz was one of those people who lived in the camp for about 10 years. She trusted the process. She followed directions. She has been housed since December. She's been sober for 7.5 months. She's now a volunteer with Colby's Army. Liz has some very important things to say.
Yes.
to bring a piece back here. I'm nervous. I'll get out. Yes, I was out of the encampment for almost 10 years, and it's going to make me cry. These organizations helped me. I was dying out there. I had nowhere to go. I had no ID. I had nothing. Colby's Army came out. Basically, Salvation Army showered the people. Sometimes showered people. That's the only time that I got to take a shower that week. Colby's Army came out with a change of clothes so I could change into this fresh clothes, a fresh shower, into fresh clothes. I got on my mental health medication through mental health co-op. I got sober through mental health co-op, seeing my therapist, getting all the help and IDs and everything, and then tippity like Salvation Army. I'm moving into my apartment this coming week. Easy out there. We don't like being out there. I still consider every one of those people out there, my friends. And what they need is your support. They don't need to be pushed out and pushed around and lose everything. This piece of paper might be the only thing they have out there that day, and it could be stolen underneath their own head at night. What they need is, like Trina said, we need landlords. Because once you get that Section 8 voucher, you only have a short time to get into a place, and then you have process over again. So all I'm asking is for support, help, give us some time and support the homeless. Don't, by getting them into housing, don't push them away, push them under a rock somewhere. Thank you.
If you guys can line up and it's short, show to people that open table.
So wasn't planning on following Liz. Thank you, Liz. So I'm Meredith McLeod-Jolin. I'm the chief administrator with Shower the People. I am also a resident of West Meade, so I'm kind of here for two reasons. We provide mobile showers, laundry, hygiene supplies every Tuesday night at the encampment. We also have a group that does a meal for us. Not only that, but we have done at least 5 cleanups in the past 6 months at the camp. That's kind of what we do. We'll have an information table if you guys have any questions. Short and sweet for you.
My name is Paula, and I am with Open Table Nashville. And I can stand here and tell you what we do, but we do the same thing that they do. And we do it every day, all over the city. What I want to ask you right now is, if someone came in this room and saw all 150, 200 people that are in this room, would they all think that you thought the same way and believed the same things? Are you all the same exact people? No. So you can't paint people with one broad brushstroke and think that you know everything that's happening with them forever. You don't know what's going on in this room. Someone could have just lost a loved one. Someone could have just been evicted. Someone could have just lost their job. You have no idea what's going on with it. So what I'm going to ask you to do tonight, as we continue to talk about homelessness and this particular encampment and what we do, is to remember you cannot paint any of them with the same brushstroke. They are all individuals. They all deserve your respect, and they are humans. And if you can't remember that they're humans, then we shouldn't leave you here. Because if you can't see their humanity, then you don't see them. They need to be seen.
My name is Tracy Pakovich. I'm a program manager at the mental health. I've been there 19 years, and I've worked with our homeless services for over 17. Like Paula, I can tell you everything we do. We do outreach services. We're out of the encampment weekly, sometimes daily, providing outreach supplies, just trying to help people survive and find housing. We provide case management, mental health services. We work closely with our crisis psychiatric services. We partner with everybody from our outreach providers to the homeless impact division to the police department, right? It takes a village, right? It takes a village of support. And you are part of that. I'm also a resident of West Nashville. I get my gas every day at Thornton's or when I need it. I shop at Lowe's for my weekend projects. I shop at the nearby Publix, and I see the same things you do when I'm going to all those places. And it's disheartening. It's also disheartening when that's what you do every single day, is try to find folks housing and support. So we do a variety of different things. There's a lot of overlap. I started this by saying that I've done this for about 17 years, and what I can tell you that is different is the collaboration and the partnerships are in this community are like nothing I've ever seen before. Right? We're aligned, but we still need help. It can't just be the us, and it can't be us versus them. It's got to be collective. And I'm encouraged by momentum. And I'm encouraged by conversations like this that are conversations, not arguments. And so I'm going to be here afterwards. I welcome one-on-one conversation. I think we get more done that way sometimes. Educate, inform, support, and I think we can find solutions for folks that need solutions. Thank you.
Stephanie Cooper. I'm the program manager for Keys to Recovery at Centerstone. We are a SAMHSA funded grant. We work with individuals experiencing homelessness as well as substance use. So we really kind of are out there to focus on the mental health and substance use side of things. But we do have a case manager, housing navigator, and an employment specialist as well, try to help get employment out there. I think during the COVID pandemic, we've seen overdoses, not just in this community increase, but in the country in general. And so I think it's really important that we're out there and we're working on that kind of stuff. And I think housing is one of the biggest components to that because it's really hard to work on mental health or substance use. You don't have a place to live. And so I think housing is the first step to that. So if you guys want to help out with that, like Judy said, the landlord thing, and then just also put pressure on council to get some affordable housing in Nashville, because that's really what we're doing.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Loud, and I am from the Salvation Army, and I am a Life Nav outreach coach. My role is to go into the encampments under the bridges, and I get to build relationships. Once I build that relationship, I get to help move them into housing. We took on this project to begin in the end of November, beginning of December. It's supposed to be a 2-year project, and we were only planning to house 200 people. As of date, we have housed 160 people, and it's not very good. And what we've ran into is that we have Section 8 vouchers, but the problem that we run into when we get those vouchers is that we don't have enough landlords. So if you are a landlord or you know someone that takes Section 8, please reach out to us and we would be glad to partner with you guys. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Pete Cathcart. I work with Neighborhood Health, and we actually formed a street medicine program that serves the individuals out at that camp. And what we do is we basically bring primary care to them. We work closely in conjunction with all these organizations here every day. I'm out there sweating in 90-degree heat, lugging 50 pounds on my back, making sure that these individuals get what they need from a blood pressure medicine, antibiotics for skin infections, sometimes trips to the hospital. I know Officer Cantrell's helped organize numerous of those. Every day, and much like this story shows and the other organizations are saying, homelessness helps. The median age of death for a homeless individual in the United States is 50 years old. So what we're doing every day might not have an impact, but it feels like it does. But getting housing does help increase that life expectancy for that person, the care they get, and their stability in life. Like Liz said, don't matter. Someone can come pull out that piece of paper you got underneath your head as you're sleeping. It's a big, big deal out there. We've made a small impact, but especially these groups over here. Talk to them, learn their stories too. Thanks, guys. Be around tonight.
I'll be quick because I do a lot of what they all do. But I did want to add that we do something very special. They've talked about mental health conditions that people are experiencing. Oftentimes people don't know that someone may be eligible for disability benefits if they're unable to work because of their mental health condition. And we have multiple grants to help people get disability in 45 to 60 days. And that's one thing that we add to this community so that we can get people connected to income and insurance to get them housed. Housing is healthcare, right? We know this. Housing is what allows us to get well from a surgery. I mean, I've gone through surgery and that's how I got well. Access to food and water is how I got well. That's how we all get well. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to get well mentally, physically, all of those, right? Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
So thank y'all for being here and thank you for listening to all of us. I'm going to turn it over to Alex now, who is, you want to come up here? Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna make this very quick, very brief. First off, I need a round of applause for everybody that's up here doing their part. Now I need a round of applause for everybody that's trying to fix this problem. All right, understand this. I am a 10-year vet of being homeless. I was homeless for 10 years, from 18 to 28. I've been through everything that you can imagine, from drug addiction to selling my body just so I can have a place to live. I've been in every encampment that has been here. I have fought for Fort Negley. I have fought for Tent City. I have fought for every place that I laid my head down. The last thing that we need is for people to take away a space for people to sleep. We need landlords. We need help. I understand you want to give donations, cool. Don't drop them off at the camp. Drop them off at the people that actually need it so they can spread it across the city. This is a community, AKA we make the change. We make the difference. We can help. Long there's a borderline between helping and non-helping, nothing's going to get fixed. So I advise you, really, deep in your heart and deep in your soul, give these people a chance to fix somebody else's life instead of trying to take it away for your own gain. Because once you take it away, it makes nothing. The rest of the
It's really important for me to demonstrate that there is one interest, one organization. It's really in us to make a difference. I have asked and worked with the community providers. As I said, we have weekly check-ins to really drive this forward. I want to repeat real quickly, the timeline that we have for phase 1 is 2 to 3 months. It really depends on the hiring process and getting actually the mobile housing mobile housing navigation center up and running and really make a difference, get people into a location where then all these services will continue to get people into housing and really drive those numbers down. After 2-3 months, we at Metro will really review with the providers where we are. Is it working? What's not working? How do we need to adjust and have a really comprehensive approach, housing focused, with public safety in mind, with health care in mind. That's the goal. And our ask as a community to everybody in here, here's how you can help. Pick up a brochure, talk to your churches, help us find landlords. Reach out. In the brochure, there are an email and a phone number where we can actually take it once you have a landlord that's interested, give them that number, give them that information. 615-800-0195 is the number to call. We're staffing that. We are there for landlords to work with them through this. The other thing is work with us on the time. Really, let's focus on getting, when you look at, the goal is the same. We want to get people into housing. We want to reclaim the park as a park. But we want to do it the right way, and we want to do it in a sustainable way. And it does take all of us. I want to thank Metro for really making $850,000 available for these new concepts to take people out of encampments very quickly, which is a life-saving measure. We're not going to do it just with Brookmead, but Brookmead is a focus. And one of the reasons why we have to distribute that, you don't want to do it just in one location to address homelessness, because otherwise you attract people to that location and you're actually counterproductive to what you're intending to do. So that's our approach. We're asking for your help, and thank you so much for hosting this.
Would you kind of go over your plan again, really clear? I'm not sure that we all got exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. So, and I'm going to use my cheat sheet here. So I'm going through that. It's a phased approach. Phase 1, which we have already started, 2 to 3 months. We have weekly provider meetings where we coordinate. We are identifying people by name. We are linking people to services. We're looking what the housing plans are for people. What are their needs? And it's really with that focus to get people into housing. We're hiring at the Homeless Impact Division outreach workers for Metro to work with the West Precinct and with the community in that encampment. I'm going to designate two outreach workers in that encampment to assist nonprofits with the housing navigation focus. We are investing in a mobile housing navigation center. There are going to be at least 2 at the same time. These mobile housing navigation centers are going to be at existing buildings, at churches. 20 people at a time will be offered moving out of an encampment to a place to have that all these services and the housing navigation going on there to drive the numbers down and bring some relief. We're working with Community Care Fellowship, a nonprofit, on this. They're going to be the main provider. They're partnering with all the community providers as well, but they're going to be the main staffing for these mobile housing navigation center. We at Metro are working closely with them. It's funded through Metro. We are working as a Metro team. We have a task force in place, working as a team on immediate public safety issues. Any of the concerns we brought up, that's what Commander Corman talked about. That's also happening at the same time. We are looking at what the version is. It's not just about, as I said, we need the landlords. I'm never going to say, no, we need the landlords, but it's also about looking where are people's strengths. Are there reunification? Is there mediation that needs to be going on to family reunification, or have other solutions as well where people can go? People need a place to go if we want to have permanent solutions. And then landlord search, can't stress it enough. We have a landlord risk mitigation fund that Mayor Cooper announced in May. That is up and running. It provides, we have a rent bridge in there. If somebody were to leave, we're going to make sure that renters don't lose rent during that time. We can utilize these housing again. If there's additional damage, there's always this fear about that. I can tell you, there's usually not, it's more damage than any other renter would have. It's landlords are usually not touching that money, but to have it there is an incentive. And the other thing we're working on and have already secured is some funding also through federal grants and American that came down through the American Rescue Plan. Some sign-up bonuses for landlords that accept some vouchers. So we're in the process of implementing that as well. And then we're as the Metro Task Force really looking, reaching out to the community providers together, develop a plan. How do we keep people from moving back in? So that as we house people, we're really in that park, getting to a point to move people into housing permanently and not attracting new people in. And so that's kind of what we do. And then phase 2 is continue that, but really we're gonna see what needs to happen at that point to where we are. Revisit with everybody, is it working? Is it not working? And that's kind of where we then really just, I think at that point, we probably will want to have another messaging with all of you. One of the things I'm looking forward is really feedback, ideas, suggestions. How can you help? I really think, and one thing that Alex said, I want to stress, if you donate, don't donate directly, donate through a nonprofit. A lot of the trash complaints that actually you have are from donations that are dropped off that cannot be used. That's a huge contributor to the issue. So that's about something.
Gina, can I ask you a question? When we're talking about housing, I know that you
Why
have,
don't you come up here so everybody can hear you?
we're talking about the rapid rehousing. Can you hear me? Okay. The rapid rehousing, where we're putting people in extended stay hotels in different areas. I'm hearing stories and I want to know, do we have the wraparound treatment for them? Mental health, addiction, when we're putting them in these hotels? Is it successful, or are we just moving mentally ill and addicted people into a place without support?
We're not putting people in places without support. The rapid rehousing assistance pays, every person is housed in a place with a 1-year lease. So that, and with the support services that come with it. And Tiffany with the Salvation Army has talked about that. So one of the things is there is 1 year, up to 1 year, it's actually been extended, it can be a little longer, rent support for people. And during that year, that gives the support service provider the time to really look at what does the person need to be sustained, to make it sustainable. One of the, some people will need ongoing support even after these dollars run out. And that's kind of where the American Rescue Plan kicked in and gave more housing vouchers, permanent supportive housing. So that's, if you're using rapid rehousing as the quick entry point, getting people off the streets, getting them the intensive support they need with the wraparound services. And then as they need more support, you actually get people into with vouchers, like with vouchers, the same. It's not a continuum. It can also be, I don't want to, be using also vouchers, right, to get people out of an encampment and into housing. And right now we have the need to identify 500 landlords to work with us, because that's, we have vouchers right now to get people into housing. But the support services, housing first is not housing only. It's the wraparound service, the support services.
Can you speak to us about any plans that Metro has to build affordable housing?
Yes, we are always exploring that. There was a task force of affordable housing. I'm really looking who's here who can speak to that a little bit. But one of the things that we are actually building is a permanent supportive housing complex. Near downtown area. Oh, wait, okay, perfect. I was like, yes.
Hi, everyone. Still alive, but I'm also going to share the friends of information. In terms of what you know about there's a lot that needs to be done. We know that. The mayor and the task force put together that myself, Councilmember Adam, and several people in the community. Because our six solution is not just going to be government, it's going to be national, it's going to be regulations with that, it's going to be for profit and all. But some of the things that we've done this year, one, the mayor had increased the funding into the balance. I was in front of 10 million to 30 million. We also added the 10 million for capitalist funding, like the emergency funding to every house. We've also increased the number of people in our housing fund. We added 2 additional staff members. We're also looking into the pilots program. Right now, we have a pilot that actually helps them for profit build that for us. We're exploring community. I'm going to use the same program for profit development. community, but like it's saying, being able to accept vouchers, being able to to find laws that allow us to work with developers and to reach a community. And that's an area that we need help with, because this is one that every time we try to do something, the state stops us from doing it. And we cannot say that enough. So we're going to give you help in terms of getting the status of what some of the measures that we have. We're going to need help with landlords accepting vouchers. We're going to need help with developers willing to be able to accept some of the things that we do. We, as a bank, will continue to work as best as we can with the community. We keep the community with it's a big problem, and it will be solved very nice, but it's something that we're going to have to do.
Can you address, got certain amounts of money this last year because of COVID, which is wonderful, but that's like a one-time shot. So can you kind of outline what came in through COVID and what are we going to do in the future? Because that's a one-time deal. We can't depend on that the next year.
And that's kind of where the sustainability planning comes from. We got CARES dollars really in it for our refugee housing programs, but then we also have the American Rescue Plan dollars, and there are some some housing, building, and sustainability dollars in that. That also is their additional vouchers. Those are ongoing. When we invest those dollars, they will actually ongo. So we're looking how we link these programs together. We're working with private, federal, local to really have that sustainability and ongoing. So right now, these CARES dollars are going through 2 years. Then the American Rescue Plan dollars go longer. So we have time to really look at our community, drive down. We really focus on who we need to help right now with who has the most intensive need. We do not need people to be out there for long term and have these underlying issues. That's something that we can address now. And then it will be easier to help people as they lose housing very quickly. So that's actually more cost effective. That's also where we need to really be smart now with our investments, because our dollars that we then need to do to keep going are going to be fewer. So it's really about looking at the highest need, looking at the investments that we do right now wisely to make it sustainable and last and ongoing.
And can you point to any cities that have made some great strides that could be examples for us?
Houston, Texas is one of the cities I look to when anybody asks me that question. Here's mine. They have early on, so between about 2013 and 2018, they reduced their outdoor and literal homelessness, so people in shelters and living outdoors, from about, now I'm blanking. They had this huge number, I think 8,000 or something, don't hold me to it, to about 3,000. So they really were one of the cities that drove down that chronic homelessness. And how did they do it? They focused on housing, they focused on the sustainability, they focused on whatever I'm just been talking about. They focused on prioritizing, they focused on working with the nonprofits to collaborate, they focused on data collection to make sure there is duplicative, that we can not provide this duplicative services, that we can cut down on that. We have done a lot of investment over the last 3 years in Nashville on that front. There's something called the Homeless Management Information System. The council members have heard me talk about that for 3 years, and we're at the point where it's actually becoming functional for our community, where our providers are using it. It is a tool to really have a data-driven approach to see where we make the investments, to see where the gaps are in where we need more funding. And we're really at that point where it is very important in everything we're doing right now. We're using it, all of us, to really drive down. And the other thing it does, it's really helping people to get to services, access to services quicker. And that's kind of the approach. Houston also has a 65 million plan I think it's a 3-year plan to house 5,000 people with all these towers. That's just to give you an idea of what it costs. The other thing you need to understand about homelessness, people will lose their housing. I believe ending homelessness is possible, but what that means is people, we cannot control as providers, as a community, who's losing housing or not. There are gaps in so many systems. There are healthcare gaps. There are, when somebody is out of employment for a time, I mean, you know it. We cannot control when people fall into homelessness. What we can do is have the system in place to catch people quickly and help them move out of homelessness. I do believe we can end chronic homelessness. Chronic homelessness is defined as long-term homelessness. Somebody with a disabling condition who has experienced homelessness for a year, and there's some other definitions in that. There's no reason that in this country we have anybody be on the streets for a year longer. But what we do, and we've heard from them, we have people that are here for 10 years. That is on all of us as a community. And I just want to stress, it's not, it's really systems failures, and it takes time for us to work together and fix this.
June, you got to say something. I want to say something to the community, and this is something that y'all might not know. Yes, everyone needs treatment that's on the streets. Understand? Everyone deals with some type of addiction or some type of mental health. Here's how to help fix that. Rent out a couple storage units. Allow them to place their stuff somewhere safe, because that's all that they have. That's all that they accumulated. If you want them to go to treatment and work with these fine people that's coming in there every single day, trying to get them off the streets, they need somewhere where they can put their stuff safely. Because it can go up in a fire, it can be stolen, it can be bulldozed over, or it could just simply be molded and disgusting, and it's not worth saving. I came on the streets with nothing but a backpack and literally a lunch. That's it. When I was fresh 18. Everything I accumulated over 10 years have been stolen, have been burnt, have been taken, and have been corrupted when I had to check myself in rehab multiple times. When I checked myself into mental health places multiple times. All my stuff has been taken. You got to understand, it's like somebody walking into your house and taking your prized possession. It's just like that. Everything that they get is their prized possession. They understand what it means to wake up every day and appreciate what it means to be a person, to understand value. So I need y'all as a community. There's a couple stores that y'all can come, that y'all can buy. Help them store their stuff while they get help. So once they come back, they can get their stuff. And guess what? You don't have to worry about finding drug dealers. You don't have to worry about people constantly in the park, scaring children, or any fear that y'all have like that. Y'all don't have to have that problem if you help us accomplish our mission. But getting storage units is the first step to correct this problem. And yes, it is a problem. Somebody like me, 10 years on the street should have never happened. But guess what? I'm happy it did. 5 years in my own place, cleanliness and whistle. Say all that to say this. If you truly want to help, step up to the plate. Don't be saying it to your neighbor. Don't be whispering behind people's back. Don't be looking the other direction, because you never know. One conversation can change that whole person's life.
that I have, and then I'll go over to your question. One of the things, when we talk about needing more landlords to take the Section 8 vouchers, when we talk about needing more landlords, what kind of services are there to help the landlords? And the reason I say that is if you're taking in a higher risk population into your property and they have a need, landlords need to know, who do I reach out to? How do I get help for this thing? And I know because my day job, I'm involved with affordable housing. And I can tell you, there's some folks that take about 10 times as much time than other folks do. And I think there are landlords that if there is a situation of this nature, this is who I call to help this kid, or this is who I call. Is there anything like that in place? And could there be anything like that in place?
Yes. So number one, case managers, through the coordination, we making sure they introduce themselves to the landlords, their part. It's kind of part of the lease signing. So landlords should know who case managers are and have their contacts to work with people. But at the Homeless Impact Division, Metro has helped us with the landlord mitigation. We also have hired staff and have a phone line for landlords. So if landlords for some reason cannot get a hold of a case manager, this is the phone number this is really the landlord line for landlords support. 615-800-0195. Brochure is there on the table. We have that in place. We have an email in place. It's staffed by Metro. It's really doing, we have that phone over the weekend. It is not for emergency situations. That's, when there is any police issues. But the other thing I also want to mention, people experiencing homelessness who transition into housing, some of them will need some additional support, especially in the initial transition. Others will just very quickly be fine because they have been experiencing housing before. There is not that much of a difference with the general population once people are in housing. Everybody has different issues. You can't tell, the majority of people who have mental health issues have never been homeless. They are in housing. People who have substance abuse issues, they're not homeless. They're not losing their housing, the majority. So we just really need to realize that we're all one population. And the difference here is the housing status.
That's great. And I do appreciate your bringing those resources. And I really like this storage unit idea. I hadn't heard that before, and that's makes sense. I just hadn't heard that one. We have the other side of it. I think that those folks that are here, yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I want to have some conversation with the businesses in the area, like Walmart and the businesses there, on their cooperation to help with the solution to homelessness.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm going, but.
So we have had meetings with the property owners in that area. We are in touch with Lowe's. We are in touch. And for lack of me, I forget, I have regular calls that we just set up with one of the property owners in that area to keep them posted. They have not heard about this plan yet because this is something we really just developed around because we just got the funding for the mobile housing navigation centers. But we are in touch, and I think the police precinct is regularly in touch and communication. But one of the things that I have, and usually in these conversations, I am making a same ask I'm making to the community here. Can you support nonprofits? Can you help us find landlords? How can you, what ideas do you have to actually help solve the result that
I can say Walmart recently, as of 10 days ago, made a large donation to shower the people to help with this encampment particularly. So they have put their money where their mouth is and are supporting nonprofits.
said when I started the meeting, that was I wanted to shine a light. And I wanted to kind of open the doors, let everyone see. So going forward, how will people know we're sticking to the plan? Are things happening? Is there going to be some sort of a publication or a mentor's website? Or how will folks know, okay, it's now November, what has happened so far? I think that'd be really helpful to let people know how they can keep in touch with what is happening.
And I actually should have brought cards. So we do have a newsletter, monthly newsletter. You can email me judith.tackett@nashville.gov to be posted on that newsletter. It's not just about that encampment, but if it's about a particular area, I would like to actually ask that we are in touch with the council members and utilize some of the listserv. We get regular updates on that as well.
Okay,
So it's more specific for
that's
that.
very important for people to know. I didn't walk out the door and I felt all good and warm and then nothing happened. So I think if you make sure that they get on that. And then the last thing is, from my point, then I'm going to open up the floor, is we've talked about the folks that are in the encampment and what their needs are, and some of the things that we as a community and as a government can do to help them. I also know the other side of that are the folks that they're afraid to go to the Walmart, or they're afraid to go to the Lowe's, or they don't want the kids playing in the backyard anymore. What can we say to those folks? What are the resources that are available to them? And what can their expectations be? And that may be part of the police department. But I do want to throw that question out. And then after that, I'm going to open it up. Probably you'd ask you.
What was the policing term you used, your target? Precision policing.
Oh, precision policing? Okay, so use this term for 10 years, from my time at special events to now. If you see something, say something. You can contact, if it's not emergency, you don't think it's emergency, you can contact Hub, you can call 862-8600. You can email Sergeant John Bohr. If you don't have our community, if you're not part of our community email, then we can get you on that. You can correspond with him. If it is something you see that is rises to a level of it causes you fear, or you think someone's in danger, certainly call 911. But there's all sorts of ways to convey your concerns to the West Precinct. One thing that does work well is Hub, because it comes directly to us and we can send information back to them. And you can do it on your own time. You don't have to wait for a dispatcher to be able to be clear to take a call from you, et cetera. You don't have to wait for us to get an email because, Sergeant Brooke may be out in the field or I may be. I will say this, there is reason for alarm because it just may not look right to you. It doesn't mean that you're in danger, but it doesn't mean that you're not. So just use, I don't want to say common sense, it's not what I'm applying. Just, what you feel. And if you feel like you're in danger or there's someone else in danger, call us. Email us. If it's not emergency, we'll get to the bottom of it. But what we will be doing is looking for individuals that part of the problem that we know, that Officer Cantrell knows, and soon to add to him will be Officer Crow. The ones that are committing crimes that we know, we're going to remove them. And they're going to go through the judicial process. Now, again, some of them, it's very complex. It's not that they just have a warrant and you go to jail. There could be addiction issues, there could be a mental health crisis. And so alternative strategies to policing would apply then. Meaning if we can get them some sort of help, opposed to going through the court system may not be able to, jail may not be able to resolve their problem. And all that does is create that person additional problems. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also on that goes for all populations. And really looking at housing, that's part of that whole approach and solution.
Because I think it is important that we look at all sides of the issue. And give community support to have them feel that they're as valuable as the folks that are having issues. So I'd like to open up from the floor if there are questions. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to just say a few words. I don't want to put back to anybody. But I'm heading up a group called Reclaim Brooke Meade Park and Greenway. And the group that is, I represent are compassionate, thoughtful citizens who own property or own businesses in the area for a long time, a lot of us. And we literally have hundreds of unanswered phone calls and emails from way before COVID. Okay, we're talking 5 to 10 years. I have them, and all the people who contacted me have been contacting the mayor's office and their city council people. I'm not calling anybody out because my council person has dropped the ball a couple times and he's called me back a couple times. It's okay. But the mayor's office really needs to get on the ball with this because that's where we're hearing they are not replying to us. The COC is great. Judy is a good. I've heard wonderful things about Judy. She's got, I would not want her job. And the folks down here are doing a great job. We have no beef with the police. We love the police. We have two things we want. We want our beautiful park and greenway back. And we want the people in that park treated kindly, humanely, looked after, and we want them with a roof over their heads and the kind of specialized care that each one of them needs. That's what we want. We also, sorry, this one place where we differ, we don't really think the voucher idea is a good idea. Asking us to go out and trying to find landlords is just, we don't think it's a good idea, and quite frankly, a lot of us just don't have time to do that. We're wondering, well, some of us work, a lot. You can't go knock on doors of landlords. I'm sorry,
When it's a landlord though, you can always take a second name voucher.
Yeah, but my understanding is most of the landlords will laugh in your face if you offer them a Section 8 voucher.
I don't need you to recruit the landlords. I need to talk to your community, your church, invite us to come to speak to them and think.
Okay, so
For networking.
right, okay, so I'll give you that one and we'll do that. But what about identifying properties and land around the city that the city already owns?
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I didn't know of anyone doing this, but yesterday I had a conversation with one of the council people up here, and he actually did identify a hospital about 17 miles north of here, near the Cumberland River, that is no longer in use. I don't know, I think it has 400 and something beds in it. Perfect place to put these people. Why isn't the mayor?
I bet it's dramatic for people. Lots of folks on the streets. I'm a family-based social worker.
No, wait.
A lot of people. What are you trying to do? We're trying to get we don't housing.
So what we're trying to do, we don't know, okay, I realize that it's a complicated road to get there. But the fact of the matter is, we support getting these people the care that they need. And what we're hearing for the last 5 years is there's no housing. And we're saying, why don't you go?
I understand for shipping it here. You're really shipping anybody. You want to talk about shipping people, then you gotta have.
I just want to say one last thing. There's a property just north of here. It was an old prison, and this is important. It's land. It's not a prison anymore. Okay, they cleared it off. It's 1,400 acres. No, I'm sorry, 1,600 acres of land. It's worth $3 million, I think. So why isn't the city looking at things like that? Why aren't our council looking at things like that?
Let me talk to you.
Bigger speed.
I'm saying, I'm going to insert her. Since I'm not a part of the government at all, I don't care. Understand this. I get what you say. There's hospitals, there's jailhouses, there's plenty empty abandoned buildings. We get all that. We want to use it. but the city doesn't have funds for us to actually use them.
Then we both need to go to, and let's team up and go to the mayor and find out what's the
But
holdup.
also, please understand this. You're moving one problem to a different community. You're not helping by helping the community that you are in at this moment of time.
I disagree.
I understand that.
I'm talking about getting them the health and care that they need, and they're not happy there.
But
They're being abused. There are women being abused there. There are drug addicts there, probably
That's
with
right.
recovering drug addicts there.
That's
That makes life a little.
But that's also happening in every single home,
But it doesn't,
almost every single day too.
but
So
it
what
doesn't.
excuse is that?
but it
There's
doesn't-
no excuse in that because the same thing that you're talking about that's on the streets are happening in people's homes every single day.
That's-
So I completely understand where you're coming from.
But I just want to be clear that we're not against the people that live there. You have to understand that. A lot of the people in my group do show up and help clean. They do contribute money. And if the city would formulate a decent plan and communicate with us and be transparent and live stream the meetings, which they don't do anymore, and let the public speak at the meetings, which they don't do anymore, then maybe you would get a lot more cooperation.
I get all that, but y'all do also understand, we need y'all help too. That's the part of people that's missing. No matter how much
We
we are doing,
are helping.
if we're not federally backing, got federal money backing us, we can't do it.
Where's the mayor? Yeah.
Where's
That-
where's the mayor? Exactly.
And you know what? And you know what?
Why am I identifying the properties that we can build on?
Because you don't see this. What we're doing is trying to figure out places
Because I.
where they won't be.
Where's
Let me
why
You
they have.
talk about, you talk about.
There's not a housing in West Meade.
No,
She's identifying places outside of West Meade that is affordable.
okay, so do you really want to read, if you was homeless, would you want to walk back into a jailhouse, just somewhere to live? No.
Hey.
Can I have your guys' attention? Can we calm down, please? Please.
I know a lot of people have probably seen views and issues, and we started this, and it kind of seemed one-sided and not addressing the issues of the poor districts that are impacted with, the theft, the harassment in the parking lots, and different issues, okay? Now, Gloria, went into the camp with me, and you got an inside kind of view of what's happening there. And I have to say, again, I felt angry, like a lot of people here, because I felt like I couldn't get shot there. I couldn't get out of my car. I wouldn't let my child go by herself. But then I went in there and I talked to probably 20 different individuals. Officer Cantrell is just absolutely amazing with the way he. And someone like everybody else, after I came out of there, and I think Gloria probably has a different perspective as well. I mean, these people, it's no paradise. I mean, it is literally, they're living in dirt, trash. They're rats, river rats. They're not small, they're big. and drug needles and all of this. So, truthfully, it concerns me that we're continuing to let people pile into this greenway without any restrictions. Now that Lowe's has cleared off their property, that moves people further in with the TVA project or the water project, excuse me, has moved people further in. So they are on top, I mean, tents next to each other, unattended fires. Again, that's not a good combination with mental illness and drugs. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm not the expert. Here's your expert. So you tell us how we get people out of the situation. But I just want people to realize it's not about anger or just wanting our greenway back. It's about helping people as well. And we need to come together. But one last thing, and Judith, I respect the vouchers and the housing, but how feasible is that in West Nashville with the growth? I mean, do we need to look at other affordable areas as well?
It's things to really those.
Thanks, everybody.
I wanted to introduce Jones, because she runs the homeless court. Can I ask my question?
Yeah. I worked with homeless for years and years in Seattle, and everyone I think here knows Seattle is probably the epicenter of homelessness. So I've only lived here for 2 years. I've worked with homelessness forever, and I commend everyone here, and I applaud the two that have been clean. So, but you keep talking about housing. Well, statistics, I mean, I've been schooled and I've had counseling, I mean, everything. The statistics are huge. They don't want housing. Well, I mean, so maybe it's different between Nashville and in Seattle. We would go out, I went out 2 nights a week. And they don't want shelter because they have to be clean. I mean, I've done it for 12 years. That's right. That's my question.
There's 2 different sides of this. There's one, people don't want to go into the communal shelter. That's something different than somebody going into housing. There's 2 different concepts. The other thing is, for our example, our friend Liz, she probably would have told you she didn't want to go into housing. Right, they don't. Possibility. As soon as she knew she was something she could actually attain, she wanted it. Because they don't want to get their hopes up for something they don't think is attainable.
No, and that's my question here. We keep throwing out housing, but I mean, I did it for 12 years. I'm not just saying up there, I'm for the homeless 100%. But we do not take people off the street. Very rare. They don't want to go. I mean, I was out there.
So maybe you're that is not the experience all of us have with relationships.
Right. And I hope it's different here. I really do. I do. Great. I think it's great. But you can look up any statistic from Seattle, it's like 80%. So I hope it is the Dutch. I really do. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I do.
Let's hear from Judge Jones, who has managed the homeless court.
Hi, I'm Linda Jones, and I appreciate your comments from Washington State and Seattle. Nashville, Tennessee is very different from Seattle, Washington. And I appreciate your time that you've taken to go out and look for land, but there is a difference in communal housing and individual housing. So I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight and let you know that if you are having problems, if you see drug use, if you see anybody in danger, please call West Precinct, because we certainly don't want drugs and needles or anyone in danger. I will disagree and tell you that all homeless people are not drug addicts. Some are. Some simply have a mental illness. Some simply have been rejected by family members, or they simply have no family. So the homeless court is redirecting people from the jail, where it costs you $35 a night to house them, over to room at the inn. And Room at the Inn is connecting them with services. What we do at the homeless court is we set them down with one social worker. They enter their data directly into the HMIS system. We find out, what do they need? Well, they probably need to get some kind of a birth certificate from wherever they came from. Then they need to get a driver's license. Then they need to see some sort of job. So we have plenty of job lists to help these people, but we also can refer them if they do have an addiction problem. We have a wonderful recovery court that's being operated downtown. We also have a mental health court and a veterans court. We also have new veterans housing. So we have a way to refer these people to get assistance. So if you are having trouble, call the police officer. I would love to see all these locations you have found, and I'm happy to look at them. The way that we came about with the homeless court was that stakeholders like Judith Tackett and the contributor and Room at the Inn and the rescue mission came together with the court system, the district attorney and the public defender's office. By the way, we have Marcus Floyd here. He stepped out into the hall. He's one of our public defenders. And we worked together as stakeholders and came up with group solutions. So rather than arguing about what the one best solution is, I would suggest convening a roundtable where everybody has input and we can hear the pros and cons of everything and keep developing better solutions for this. If you have any questions about the homeless court, I invite you to call my office at 880-3672 and just keep doing this good work. Thank you, Council Lady Hauser, Councilman Rosenberg.
And don't remember to put your hand up there.
My question's for the commander.
Stand up.
Yes, I have a question for the commander. On July 18th at 7:41 a.m., I called non-emergency number. Joe by there, what are we doing about the camp at the bottom of the exit ramp? The
So there by Cabot and the exit from I-40?
Yes, because the reason I'm saying this is I called the non-emergency number because my son, 9 years old, got to see a man standing on the corner there by his little tent, butt naked.
So that's,
and like I said, if I have to, I'll keep calling every day. So I won't call the non-emergency.
that's fine, and we encourage you to do that. That is actually state property. The person that is residing there has, my understanding, has gotten notice from the state. Certain work. Correct me if I'm wrong. The little camp is right there by Cabot Drive and I-40 exit ramp. That's state property.
That's state property.
And they have been giving him notice that he can't stay there. What's the timeline?
August 2nd.
August 2nd, he has to remove.
Out in several times.
Yes, and so they will remove him if he doesn't leave. Then if they want to prosecute, we'll facilitate that. But we're not going to be the prosecutors. We're not going to remove his property. But that is state property and they are addressing.
Yeah, because I saw you many times, especially when there was a motorcycle there, a car there. They're like hanging out big time.
Well, I mean, listen, I understand what you're saying, but he lives there and he's going to have company, but it's very dangerous. It's, it's not the best place for him.
Well, I mean, it's a 9-year kid, it's an indecent exposure.
That's what. So the state is aware and take them.
Well, I know, but it becomes a metro thing because it's indecent exposure. It's a misdemeanor.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, it's not committed in our presence. I have to be there to see it. So you're gonna have to call.
Within my presence. My 10-year-old son's.
Okay, then what you could do is call us and we'll
I
get there
did.
and get the prosecutor.
Nobody showed up. I'm waiting everywhere now. It's a 9-year-old son. Yeah, he's gonna live with that for a while.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
listen.
that's what we want.
I do
I'm sorry.
applaud the groups that
Yeah.
are helping.
Yeah.
I know going to the West Nashville Church, that's right there in the intersection. The pastor that used to be there talked to some of the homeless and they said they made more there collecting in a day than they would as a job. So they weren't going to make change. But my question is, with all the people that you're taking out and helping, say it's 20%, what's stopping the next 20% to move in that we end up someday having a greenway? What's to stop that? As soon as you take 20 out, we're seeing 20 move back in.
That's kind of why we have the task force conversations to come up with that plan. First, we need to really reduce the numbers. Then we need to be very intentional on how the entire area is managed, how we actually work with people. That's our intention, to really come up with a specific plan on that. I also welcome ideas on that. We have that mentor task force and the collective that we're collaborative effort with the providers. So what we've done in another encampment is really work with the people that were remaining there and had housing plans. The housing hasn't come to fruition yet, and they help monitoring that as well. There's a lot of messaging from the providers and from the residents that are then still remaining there to let others know you have to move on. And that's kind of where also the conversation with police partnership comes on to just be present and.
If we clean it out and then find those places, like we give them a place to understand until they get their own housing. There's one communal map, and so you give them a communal place to live, and you move them out and you find housing. At least they're not moving more in.
And that's kind of that approach that we're doing, but we need to do it in small groups to make it effective. One other thing I need to say, I really appreciate everybody who applauds me and praises my work. I couldn't do this if it wasn't for this mayor supporting my work.
I have a voice of problems. I know everybody's doing great down among organizations. Why can't the council bring them, get it out or something, that contractors put up the trash, and meanwhile, when it brings these houses, council can find money for everything else, but keep throwing money at this, but don't want it done. Nothing's getting done, trash and field, no, I understand anything's time to get it out. Why can't the council bring that up on the floor? Trying to get the trash, these people, I just think we're all over Nashville at all.
I agree.
Somebody else.
Part of this brings up, we as council members, not that we don't want to do that, we do. We do need to know you were supporting us in that. When we bring up a budget, you guys need to let us know what's important to you and that you will go.
Property taxes are 34%.
Gloria. I just wanted to add something very quick. On the part where I heard you, I heard everybody and the citizens have the right to be upset. You do have the right to expect more from your mayor and your council. I saw a solution. Julius didn't mention it, but I don't know if you resonated or if you all heard it. Okay? There is a resolution that is coming before council this Tuesday. It's a late file resolution, and it's putting 850,000 towards homeless house. And so we're looking at solution, we're working on it, and we're listening, we're hearing. But I wanted to put that out there because I don't know whether you heard that there's some solutions being talked about right now, and I don't want to gloss anything over. There's questions to be asked, there's work that is being done, and there's more that we need to keep doing. But I wanted to make sure you heard that part of it. Thank you.
Real quick, sorry. What kind of numbers do you have for Davidson County homes?
Outdoor. Outdoor.
Yeah.
Yeah. On any given night, right now, so we are actually working on that whole entering, but it's like 800 to 1,000 is the estimate right now. But we're driving it down, and frankly, I am fearing what at the end of this month, what is happening.
Oh, that's out.
If there was plenty of clear the green.
I'm just average person who lives on an average street in an average neighborhood. I want to say thank you to Roseanne and the officers and the council members, leaders of the organization. My goodness, thank you to everybody that's here because this is stressing. And there are lots of ideas. There are lots of solutions. There's no one answer. This is complicated. It's lasted for a long time. And I really love that, we can't paint everybody with one brush and bringing the humanity into the situation. Same thing for speaking to us tonight. I don't remember your name. So, please. I'm not going to say this because it's anything special. I'm not. But I went to the precinct meeting. I'm here. I started reading information on cities that are successful with reducing their homelessness. What does that look like? I'm trying to educate myself. I picked an organization. I made a donation. I'm putting on my Facebook page, on my social media, asking my friends and family, please donate to this organization. It's trying to help with this problem. I'm going to have a meeting in my home, and I'm going to ask all of them to come to my home. Because not everybody's going to come to one of these meetings. Not everybody's got time, but my neighbors care. My family cares. But we're not educated. We don't understand the problem. We don't understand the people that have this problem. And what contributes to the issue. We need to know why is homelessness getting so much worse? What can we do to help? And what are the solutions? And not just anxiety. If I feel it's you, when I drive up to an intersection, there's somebody at my window, I don't know what to do. Sometimes I ignore them. Sometimes I give them $3. I don't know. But these people are helping. These officers are amazing. And I want to learn from them. I want to assist them. But I'm just an average woman living on the average street, the average neighborhood. I'm not going to do anything fabulous to lead an organization, but I can listen to the people that lead these organizations. And I can learn from people like this. And I can see my heart. And whether the solution sounds right or not, we need to listen to all of the ideas. There is a lot of anger, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of concern. But look at us, we can come together. We can bring all of this energy into these organizations that help our fellow citizens. It's not them, it's us. We're a community. We're just part of this community that's in distress. And it's distress. Use whatever no matter how small it is, but I think it's about educating. I think about being helpful on a grassroots level so that then we can make decisions when we vote. We can talk to our council representatives. We can talk to the mayor, and I realize say, I'm not getting an answer. But guess what? If every single one of us did, we did. Not everybody. I'm just saying, if we all pull together and we support the organization, the professionals, I think we will manage this situation. It may not be solved, but it will be managed, and that's what we.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you. And Laura, thank you for letting me just respond real quickly. It's very easy for us to stand here and hear some of the things that you say and respond negatively because our experience is so different. And so I don't want to leave here angry. I don't want you guys to leave here angry. My organization, Open Table Nashville, provides a tremendous amount of community education. I'll come to your home and talk to your friends. I'll come to your churches and talk to your friends. Actually, I'll send other people because they're better at it than I am sometimes. But we will be there for you to help understand and help you figure out how to help us. And I think you're absolutely correct. The fact that the mayor is not here, nor is there a representative, is very telling. And if you want this, thank you. We're not always glad, but we're not always on the same page with the way that we think, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree, and we can do it without hating each other. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but I think we can. So let us help you understand the folks that you're seeing out who make it on the side of the road. We want to fix that. None of these service providers, raise your hands, none of you, none of them want to see our friends stay in those encampments. We don't. We want them to be housed. We want to find the housing. If you're not a landlord, you don't go landlord's fine. But we have to find housing. The Affordable Housing Task Force of the mayor's office found that there are, for people who are 0 to 30% of income, 17,292 units short of being able to house everyone in that income bracket. 17,292, and it's going to be 20,000 something in a couple of years if we don't do something about that now. We don't have places to put any of our folks. If every one of our folks wanted housing, and they do, if every one of them, if we wanted to house them, we couldn't house them because there is no housing to put them into. That's where the mayor's office is important. That's where your council representatives want to be on our side, need your support. If you don't think that that matters, you're wrong. It does. Let your representatives know, let your mayor know. I've invited the mayor. I was chair of the Homelessness Planning Council for 2 years. I invited this mayor multiple times to come and address the council to talk to us about what his vision was to end homelessness in Nashville. He's yet to attend.
Yeah.
Where did the city councilors go? Where are they? They left. They just walked out.
Not all of them, John. Not all.
They're here.
Well, they are the ones that within the state.
And as I said at the beginning, we weren't going to solve it tonight. We know that. I want to make sure there's a forum to hear and to learn. I'm hoping there will be several more follow-up sessions after this. My purpose was to shed a light, open the doors, because I do believe that if we all get involved, we can make the huge dent. Can we solve it? We aren't going to solve it, but we can certainly make it a much smaller impact on all of our lives. And I think I see one more hand. And then we're going to have okay. Yes. Stand up if you want to speak. Yes, you. Sure.
I apologize. I may have missed some of the presentations and probably the date to see that exposed. But are there any milestones? I mean, is this kind of an open-ended problem that's just essentially going on, or is this a milestone to track progress? I know we have this website plan, but is that it?
The biggest milestone we have just succeeded that we set to house 400 people by the end of December. In July, we reached that and the numbers are going up. More people are moving into housing and we need to continue that. So yes, we're looking at milestone. We're also, so I'm helping to staff the Homelessness Planning Council. I need to correct, Cass addressed Homelessness Planning Council at the beginning, then that Mayor Luca was there, and he is supportive of the work that we're doing. He's really very much focused on milestones and working with us on that.
We have 2 more questions and then we're going to have to start clearing the room.
I just want to ask, is there anything being done to discourage people from asking for money? You know, Clarksville's doing it, they're putting up signs at the intersections and saying, please, you know, donate your and you can donate then instead of handing it to a person. I think I'm here because I'm fed up with the trash all along the I-44 corridor. When it's available. And there's no excuse that these people are allowed to stay in and leave their stuff every time. Here is building up with this place. Stuff to take to the paper. It's published in the press. Be left by people. So it's a really people and encourage us to not forget. I know that's sometimes the best way, but it's also in the neighborhood.
And one of the things, especially, it's interesting that Brooke Community Park has signs up to donate to not donate the donation, the drop off. So
the one above Walmart. Where's the one on Cabot?
I don't know every single, you know, but one of the things is that is part of the messaging that we are having donate, work with, and work through nonprofits. I will not tell people whether they should hand somebody $3 or not. You know, that's everybody's own decision. But we do definitely encourage any donation. That's the messaging we have everywhere. It's like, and we need to continue, and we can actually help with that as well. Donate and work through.
That on the city, is that a state, because there's a long authority? Good job is
It depends on the property. Yeah, it can be state. If it's highway, it's state. If it's interstate, it's state.
That's the intersection, that's the state.
We had one more lady here in the town.
Thank you all so much and thank you for putting this together. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate very much the compassionate efforts on all sides. For those of you who are on social media, you know that there is a very significant contingent of violent language. And I'd like to read something for the record that is very upsetting to me. This is a quote that was recently posted this week about the people living in the encampment. When do we, the community, band together to clear this problem out? If the elected officials and the law enforcement are not willing to solve the problem, when do we take it into our own hands? There's thousands of community members living right around here. We could easily outnumber them, overpower them immediately. I say we go in with dumpsters, chainsaws, firearms, pitchforks, torches, and as many community members as we can and work together until they're driven away. My question is, how do we as a community prevent that from happening? And how do we ensure that our law enforcement is able to protect these most vulnerable people who are the chains among us?
If they would say that, I have a problem. I think it's a very responsible thing. I don't think it's a very humane thing, very compassionate of this. But they're upset. It's probably somebody who's being keyboard, you know, you never know. If you feel that's threatening, you can most certainly forward that to us and we'll look at it. Right? But again, it's people's right to say what they want to say. You know, we've lived in a year or so of a lot of angry free speech. Sometimes directed at our government officials, sometimes the police, sometimes opposing forces. So, you know, I don't know there's much I can do on that, but we could look into it because it's just language at this point. It deals with tons of threats. It would be nice to know maybe, I mean, who it is, so we can figure it out. Or maybe there is some sort of underlying issue with that issue, the person on the right. But if you're willing to share, let me know if you take it. I wonder.
Sure, it's online.
Well, I don't know. I mean, okay.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know this is not the most fun thing you could do this evening, but I really appreciate you taking the time. I honor the fact you have passion. You have passion for your neighborhood. You have passion for those that are talented. Thank you so much. Keep reminding us, okay? But please do it nicely.